My name is Kayla. I'm a 34-year-old housewife who has become a hunter of sorts, diligently working on pest control at our countryside home every year, as even slight changes in the climate cause an increase in insects. In the past, I could easily say things like, "Bugs are so scary, gross," without any shame, but now that I'm over 30, I'm emotionlessly swatting them left and right. I've become quite tough, haven't I? Today, I want to share a story about how I dealt with my sister who had a crush on my husband. This happened a few years ago when I was still in my 20s. My middle school class was having a reunion, and I ran into my childhood friend, James, who used to live nearby. Back when we first started elementary school, my sister Victoria, who is 2 years younger than me, James and I used to play together all the time. But gradually, the boyish emotion of, "It's embarrassing to play with girls," grew stronger, and James ended up distancing himself from us. In middle school, James's family moved away, and we grew even more distant. That's why I was so nervous when I talked to him at the reunion. But as adults, we have a strong ally. Yes, it's alcohol. Oh, how I love you, alcohol. With the power of alcohol, James and I had a lively conversation, as if we hadn't been apart for so long. We went to the second and third parties, just the two of us, and right before we were about to part ways, James said, "I used to like you when we were kids, and it seems like I still like you, even as an adult." I responded, "What's that all about?" And we started dating with a lighthearted exchange like, "So, shall we date?" Later, a sober James said, "Who do I think I am?" while rolling around on the floor questioning himself. Needless to say, I laughed out loud at the sight. It's kind of funny when the person you like is incredibly embarrassed, and the cause of it is you. I feel a little bit bad for him, though. Then, our marriage was decided smoothly, and we went to each other's parents' houses to announce our upcoming wedding and the start of our cohabitation, which was scheduled for half a year later. We planned to live together before getting married to make sure our lifestyles were compatible. Since we were childhood friends, our parents knew each other's faces. No problem there. Easily approved. We should have gotten permission easily, but, of all things, a problem occurred at my house. It happened when James came over to greet my family, and we were having dinner together. "I'm home," my sister returned from work with a deflated voice. She saw James sitting at the table, and after being surprised, her expression quickly changed to a happy one. "Huh, James, why are you at our house?" James looked a bit embarrassed and glanced at me. "Well, we've actually been dating for about half a year now, and we decided to get married. He came over today to announce it. I thought I should tell my family myself, so I explained the situation to my sister on behalf of James." The moment I told her, my sister's face turned sour, as if she had bitten into a bitter bug. "All right, I'm tired, so I'm going to bed. Bye." With that, she hurriedly went into her room and slammed the door shut. Wow, that was unpleasant. I looked at James, worried that I might have upset her. But he gave me a reassuring smile and said, "Don't worry about it. Just to clarify, my sister isn't usually like that. There must have been something about my upcoming marriage or cohabitation that bothered her. But even our parents had no issues with it, so why was my sister so upset?" Not understanding her feelings, I wondered whether I should directly ask her after James had left. When I was about to take a bath, I ran into her in the hallway. I stumbled over my words as she glared at me with a fierce expression. "I never thought you'd marry James. I've always loved him too. I'll never forgive you." With those furious words, she stormed off, her footsteps echoing angrily down the hallway. Her unexpected confession left me stunned. Really? She loved James too? I couldn't help but feel like this was something out of a daytime drama. I spent a sleepless night thinking about it, but eventually reached a conclusion. Did it really matter if my sister loved my fiancé? After all, we were already engaged. If James had said he loved my sister, it would have been a different story. But that wasn't the case. More importantly, if she had loved him since they were kids, she should have told him her feelings much earlier. It was her own fault for not doing so, and blaming me for it was misguided. I knew she might become more hostile, but I decided to let it slide, like a big-hearted older sister. Normally, this would be a heavy situation, but I chose to take a more optimistic view. Still, I was unsure whether to tell James about it. My sister's feelings could become known to him. But if I didn't tell him, he'd feel uncomfortable every time he came over without knowing why. So considering him as a party involved, I decided to tell him everything.
If there's anything I can do, let me know. It doesn't seem like there's much I can do, though,
James said, concerned about me. Well, it's a sisterly issue. If my sister tries to attack me, I might ask you to be my shield.
Hey, don't joke about that.
So that's how we decided not to think too deeply about it. Neither of us had any intention of changing our decision to marry, and it wasn't an issue we could convince my sister to understand. So, our choice was to leave it be. As expected, my sister's attitude toward me became much colder after that. On the first day, when I went to take a bath after her, I found that she had drained the bathtub. Ha ha ha! This isn't a big deal. There's always the shower. Honestly, I can even joke about my sister's petty attempts at annoying me. However, it was a bit much when she hid my makeup and wallet before work. I don't have time for a treasure hunt in the morning. I desperately searched, trembling at the thought of being late. Thanks to being late for work, twice in 1 week, I barely made it in, and my boss looked at me with cold eyes and said,
"Is it because you're getting relaxed now that you're getting married?"
Unforgivable. But no, I'm her older sister. I should forgive her. Or should I? Our parents were initially unaware of my sister's antics, but eventually, they noticed something was off when she started hiding valuables. My mom scolded her, saying, "Why are you acting so childish?" Well, it seems like the person herself probably didn't think much of it and just thought, "What a pain." But the problem was our dad. Dad had always favored my sister because he had to care for her as a baby when Mom fell ill. There was a tendency for him to dote on and have a preference for his younger daughter over me. Basically, he has developed a motherly instinct due to his experience with child rearing. I wouldn't say that I don't understand his feelings. I have the same feelings because I also grew up thinking of my younger sister, who went through tough times, as cute. If you're talking about an experience where I was compared to my younger sister and came up short, yes, that's right. The only time I felt my sister was favored over me was when Dad chose to go to the aquarium instead of the amusement park as I wanted. My mother was someone who would ask me if I wanted to go to the amusement park, so I don't have any painful memories of feeling inferior because of my father's preference for my younger sister. But if my mother had not been that kind of person, I would have felt a strong sense of inferiority. And to make matters worse, my friends at the time would say things like, "Your younger sister is more loved." So I just thought that there was some imbalance of affection everywhere. Well, maybe it's just my naturally optimistic personality. If there's someone who can bring me down, I'd like to see them try. Or something like that. But this time, Dad sided with my sister. It seems that she was talking about how my older sister took my boyfriend. In my father's mind, he already thought of him as the worst man who played around with both sisters. My sister can get married, but I couldn't help but wonder what would happen to my abandoned little sister. I couldn't blame him for taking sides. Regarding Dad's opinion, Mom said, "James doesn't seem like the type who can do such a thing." And with a half-convinced expression, she also listened to my opinion. no, that's not it. On top of that, Mom didn't take either my or my sister's words at face value, and she fairly assessed the situation. But Dad said,
I can't stand how pitiful the abandoned sister is. And now even the older sister is being toyed with. I won't forgive anyone for taking advantage of my beloved daughters. You need to wake up too.
He spoke as if I'd been brainwashed by James. No matter what I say, he won't listen. Despite some difference in affection, he's a good father who truly loves my sister and me from the bottom of his heart. However, just this once, I wish he would listen a bit more to what I have to say. While it was quite troublesome that my marriage was being opposed, I decided to push through and make it happen anyway. In short, I decided to move out and live with James sooner than planned. The idea was to distance myself from my sister and her issues. If I wasn't at home, she couldn't bother me. The problem would be solved. In fact, this decision seemed to be the right one as our life together went smoothly. As the days went by, my mom told me, I think you're probably right, and since you're an adult, do as you please. Live freely. My dad seemed unhappy, but didn't say anything. Maybe he thought that even if James and I broke up, it wouldn't be good for me or my sister. He probably believed this was the best way to settle things. I think I believed it was the best way to settle things smoothly. However, it's heartbreaking to see James being treated like such a villain. But there was no news from my sister. I thought everything was over. Then came the wedding day. My sister didn't attend, and my father urged me to reconsider the marriage, saying,
It's not too late.
My mother laughed and said, I've had moments when I thought I made a mistake marrying your dad too, so be prepared for various things in marriage. Needless to say, Dad turned pale behind me, exclaiming,
Is that true?
Not everyone had heartfelt blessings, but with our parents watching over us, we got married. The next day, our doorbell rang loudly. What? James and I jumped up. We rushed to the monitor and saw my entire family visiting. Dad? Mom? Victoria? What's going on? My sister glared at me with sharp eyes. I didn't say anything before, but I'm pregnant with James's baby. Take responsibility, my dad added.
You don't have children yet, so James should take responsibility. Break up with you and marry Victoria. Give James to her.
While listening to my sister and father's side of the story with a puzzled look, Mom asked me, What's going on? James, still half asleep, came to the door behind me.
Huh? What? My baby? Huh?
Finally waking up, James shook his head vigorously at me.
It's not true. We didn't do anything like that.
His denial was comically exaggerated. I knew that. In fact, his panic made it even more suspicious. So he should stop. I wanted to laugh, but I kept quiet. What do you mean, James's baby? How many months are you? 2 months. If James doesn't take responsibility, this child will be fatherless. That's so sad, right? 2 months? I exchanged glances with James, startled by my sister's story. James and I burst into laughter. My confused parents didn't know what was going on. My sister was flustered, yelling, What are you laughing at? I wiped tears from my eyes, laughing too much, and said, Well, I see. So it was 2 months ago, huh? I started tearing up from laughing too hard.
Victoria, we had fun last time, didn't we?
Huh? Oh, yeah. My sister panicked for a moment at James's sudden question. My parents didn't understand what James meant and glared at him with disgust. I was probably the only one who knew what he was trying to do. By the way, Victoria, how many abs do I have? What? Pfft. My sister was dumbfounded. I almost burst out laughing.
Do you remember the number of my abs you saw 2 months ago? I accidentally lost them recently.
Only James would describe his abs as if he'd lost something. I laughed so much I felt like my abs were popping out. What are you talking about, James?
The correct answer is 0.
I almost said, I know, but James confessed without paying attention to my sister's puzzled face over the fact that he didn't have any abdominal muscles. Even my mom couldn't help but laugh. Maybe whoever made the other person laugh would win this battle.
Question 2. You've seen my moles, right? How many are there in total?
Huh? No. What? My sister seemed confused about how to react to James's strange questions. It made sense. His goal was to confuse her and have fun with her. They never had physical contact, so she couldn't answer James's questions. If she slipped up, it would be funny, and he would play along. He kept asking questions instead of quickly denying it, enjoying the fact she couldn't answer. In fact, my mom started to feel something was off, wondering, isn't it strange for them to be this close? Of course. This kind of exchange wouldn't happen if they had really spent the night together, especially in front of our parents. Just having this conversation proved nothing happened. James was enjoying his own way of getting back at my sister, confusing her. He was so happy, like a child with a new toy, and had a very innocent expression on his face. What a scary guy. If she can't deal with this kind of joke, she can't be James's wife. And I watched my sister's reaction. She finally answered question 2 with desperation. 10, maybe?
Bzzz, wrong. The correct answer is, I don't know either.
My dad burst out laughing too. At the same time, he tried to hide his frustration.
Enough, James. Stop messing around after leading on my daughters.
I stopped my dad, who looked like he was about to grab James. Wait, listen. You said she's 2 months pregnant, right? If you think about when she got pregnant, it's impossible for James to be the father. Wait, what do you mean? My words caught my mom's attention. Can I say it? As I glanced at James, he reluctantly nodded, making a displeased face.
No, wait a moment. Can I say it?
Can you?
Yeah, I can.
Trying to be tough, James puffed out his chest.
Well, father-in-law, mother-in-law, the truth is, during that time, I was stung by a bee on my, important male part.
At that moment, everyone, even my sister, burst out laughing.
Enough with the lies. There's no way you'd be stung there.
My angry father and my mother laughing hysterically while clapping their hands.
Well, it's embarrassing, but it's true. It was hot, so I thought I'd cool down a bit. I opened the window, thinking no one could see me, and just relaxed, naked. And then, that bee came flying in and stung me.
James's face, even his ears, turned bright red. I tried not to laugh for his sake, but I couldn't help but burst out laughing.
There's no way such an embarrassing guy exists. No, there's really such an embarrassing guy right here.
James tried to argue against my father's words, but it wasn't something to be proud of. That doesn't prove the baby in my belly isn't James's. My sister, who had nearly lost her footing, seemed to have caught her breath and rejoined the battle.
No, Victoria, think about it. A bee stung me on the important part. Dad, you can imagine the pain of having that vital area hurt, right?
My sister fell silent at James's serious face. My dad, who'd been imagining the situation, looked down while gently holding his crotch. He tried to make a stern face, but it was clear he was starting to believe James's words.
It's a really important, delicate area for men, so it was tough, I even called an ambulance.
I was more embarrassed to be the one who sympathized. I couldn't help but retort at James's story.
I had a fever and it was terrible. If someone made a baby in that condition, they'd have real extreme tastes. I could even ask the hospital that took care of me.
My mom burst into laughter at James's quiet words. James, you used to take off your swimsuit when playing in our plastic pool, didn't you? Come on, show me the place where you were stung. Laughing loudly, my mom approached James with her hands rubbing together.
What? It's already healed, so there's no evidence here. Why would I show you something like that?
For some reason, he tried to hide his chest area that wasn't important and unrelated and escape from my mother's grasp. From the looks of it, my mom seemed to trust him now. I felt relieved. James, on the other hand, didn't seem to feel relieved in that.
Well, yeah, I can sympathize with that as a man. I don't think anyone would make up such an embarrassing lie, and there's no need to check with the hospital.
At that moment, my dad had kind eyes, as if he were respecting James's last shred of pride. I saw an expression I've never seen before. Ironically, because of where the sting was, understanding from living together seemed quick. I wonder if this also applies to the benefits of injury. Amidst all this, I said to my sister, who stood there in a daze, "Look, even if you tell such a pointless lie, neither James nor I will get a divorce. If anything, I think you'll just become more and more miserable. I may not be able to make you believe me, but I really want you to be happy. You're my one and only sister." At that moment, my sister's eyes widened in anger. "Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! I've had enough. I don't like James anymore if he's on my sister's side." James forcefully shook off my sister's hand as she became emotional and tried to grab me.
It's fine if you don't like me. I love Kayla, so it doesn't matter. I think of Victoria as a precious childhood friend and a sister-in-law, but I will never see her as a lover now or in the future. If you keep repeating lies like this, I will stand up against them with all my strength. I am Kayla's husband, so I will protect her with all my might.
I almost started to cry. He didn't look like the idiot who had been stung by a bee and was saying some mysterious nonsense like,
"I might be done for. The world is my enemy."
My husband is so cool. I even thought that. My father, seeing the situation, said,
"Victoria, if you are really pregnant, show us some evidence, like a medical history."
Hearing this line, it became clear that my parents had believed Victoria's pregnancy based solely on her words without any proof. I love my parents for believing and not doubting what their child says, but this time it seems their kindness has backfired. My mother also urged my sister, "If it's a lie, apologize to both of them." My sister bit her lip and trembled. "Enough. No one is on my side. I don't care, and I don't regret it." My sister said that, tears in her eyes, and left the scene. My father tried to follow her, but my mother stopped him, saying, "Leave her be. Let her cool off." 2 weeks later, my mother forcibly took my sister, who still insisted she was pregnant, to the obstetrician and gynecologist. As expected, there were no signs of pregnancy. She was diagnosed as a healthy adult woman with no signs of illness. My father and mother apologized to James, saying,
"We're sorry for the trouble and for doubting you without any reason.
We should have trusted you, James, who we've known since childhood."
Please, take care of Kayla."
They also bowed their heads to me, saying,
"We're really sorry for causing you such discomfort."
Honestly, I don't think my parents are to blame, since I hadn't told them about my deteriorating relationship with my sister. Having parents who believe and don't doubt their child, well, there may be various things to think about from a societal perspective, but it's true that they stand up for their daughter. After all, there is no substitute. They are my one and only precious parents. Everyone makes mistakes, big or small. It's ironic that this time the mistake involved my parents, or more precisely, my father. I've suffered from his favoritism towards my sister before, but I'll forgive him because he raised me so well. After all, without these parents, I wouldn't have grown up so happy or met James. My sister, embarrassed by her pregnancy lie being exposed, angrily left the house saying, "I don't want to live in a place like this." Before, my father, who was always soft on her, would have gone to fetch her, but this time he said,
"It's better for Victoria to cool off and not come home."
My mother said, "You can't just brush it off as a runaway romance. If she can't apologize sincerely when she comes back, she won't be allowed in the house." I can't imagine my enraged sister sincerely apologizing to us. My mother probably thinks the same. In other words, this was essentially disowning her. 7 years have passed since then. My sister apologized to my parents and us, and returned home once. But in the end, she was really disowned and kicked out. At first, she seemed to behave well, but she caused trouble at the end of the year after drinking heavily. She sneaked into James's bed, who had gone to sleep before her, and asked, "Aren't you getting tired of my sister by now?" James seemed to think a ghost had appeared and let out a loud scream.
Ah!
It was so loud, it seemed like the neighbors would get angry. My parents and I woke up from the noise, and the incident was exposed. The suspect, my sister, was quite drunk and said, "It's not fair that you're always so close with my sister. You should share some of that with me too." Of course, that's not something we could do, nor would we. I was furious and told her to stop it. James was trembling like a chihuahua, and my parents, with an expression like they'd never seen before, disowned my sister. I'll never forget how my father, who was supposed to be fond of my sister, showed his disgust by saying,
"I don't remember raising a child who would attack a man in his sleep."
My sister apologized over and over again after sobering up, but my father strongly rejected her, saying,
"Actions taken when drunk reveal one's true feelings. We can't trust you anymore."
My sister left home in tears. Meanwhile, I found out I was pregnant for the first time after the tumultuous end of the year. Since then, I've been with James, and we just kept having children constantly, you know. Now, at 34 years old, I'm a mother of 4 children, although 2 of them are twins, so I've only experienced childbirth 3 times. They're almost all a year apart, so every day is like a festival. If left alone, the walls would be covered with crayon scribbles, as if it's an art exhibit. On Sunday mornings, James and I would run around the house with a cleaner in hand, trying to clean it up. Even though we clean it up, it gets scribbled on again. But despite the chaos, these are happy days. The youngest child is going through a bit of a no phase, resisting clothes, brushing teeth, and using the toilet. But when I see the sleeping faces of my 4 little angels, I can forgive anything. My parents also seem to share my feelings, and they frequently visit our home to help with childcare. James is also very cooperative with childcare, although his hair is constantly being pulled, and now he's worried about his thinning hair. The expression seems to say just that, as they respond accordingly. I won't say, "It's okay if you lose hair with your promotion and increased salary. You can afford good hair growth treatments now." I'll just keep that to myself. It seems interesting to see James troubled by thinning hair. For better or worse, we want to see all sorts of sides of the people we love, right? Although it's far from a calm and peaceful home, it's a lively and even noisy place, but right now, I'm very happy.